Okay, welcome to this video. This is focusing in on the inner struggle that goes on when we are lacking in acceptance. This could be with ourselves, with others, or life, or the world in general. This is going to be at least one of two, maybe even one of more, around acceptance. So often when there is this inner struggle that's going on, this can give birth to worry, anxiety, fear, depression, frustration and anger, and many other unwanted states and feelings we can all experience on a daily basis. So, really getting to know and understand this inner struggle is going to be massive in your awareness, your balance, your acceptance, your self acceptance. And really cultivating this perspective of acceptance is going to allow you to just let go of that struggle and conflict that we can often find ourselves in. Okay, so let's get down with some definitions to start with, so we can get some and set some parameters around this word of acceptance that we're talking about. So acceptance, as the word details here, then, so the action of consenting to receive or undertake something offered. And then just connecting this with self acceptance. So, this is an individual's acceptance of all of their attributes, positive or negative. So, really just focusing in on that sense of accepting all parts of you. And that's what we're really sort of driving towards. And it's a journey. It's not like it's just going to happen all in one go. It can do, but it's just that vision, that direction that you're pointing towards that self acceptance, and noticing when you're not accepting of certain parts of you, and taking a step back and going, okay, how am I viewing this that's causing me to reject it in some way? And we'll get to that word rejection in a moment. So, and when we think of that something that's offered within acceptance, think of that in the sense of the self acceptance. So there's something that's offered to you within self acceptance is you. So it's your body, your mind, your strengths, your weaknesses, your experiences, your beliefs, your values, and everything else that combines up to make this version of you of where you stand right here, right now, in this moment. So this is what life and the present moments are offering you right now, and you've got a choice whether to fully accept it or fully reject it, or somewhere in between. And of course, that acceptance or rejection will come from your thinking, your perception of how you're seeing yourself in some sort of way. Or, as we say, it could be the self, it could be something outside of you, it could be others, it could be life in general. So the acceptance of all of you, instead of struggling against certain parts of yourself or your past, or um, basically trying to allow some to be seen but not others. So this is really moving into that place of accepting all parts of you, and how can you direct yourself and just notice where you're not accepting, um, and step back from that. Ask yourself, where can I change my perception in order to let go of that struggle even more? So, this is about accepting yourself in the moment, just as you are right now, with no struggle to try and be something or someone different. So, let's just try that now. So, just taking a moment, just take a breath, maybe even close your eyes if you can, if it's safe to do so. And just allowing yourself to just move into a place where you're viewing yourself in that totally accepting way. All of yourself, all of the positive, all of the negative, all of the good and all of the bad, just in this moment. And of course, if you move into that place, then there is no positive or negative, there is no good or bad. It's just as it is. Just notice how it feels to move into that. Notice what positive aspects you're drawn to. Notice what negative ones you're drawn to. How does it feel just to accept all of them in this moment? Notice what resistance comes up for you. Notice what thoughts it's triggering by just moving yourself into that space. Notice the thoughts and emotions that arise within you as you try to entertain that idea of full self-acceptance. Notice if there's parts of you that your mind's trying to draw you to and going, well, yeah, we can accept all of that, but just not this. It might be even be an event in your past that you're still struggling with, that your mind won't let go of, keeps ruminating around. So when we notice that resistance coming up, this leads us into this next word of rejection. And this is the dismissal or refusing of a proposal or an idea. So when we're entertaining that idea of full self-acceptance, is there any rejection coming up? Really highlighting this word of rejection as the opposite of acceptance. So if you're not accepting something, then you're rejecting of it, or parts of it. And again, I want you to really think about this word idea, just entertaining an idea. Because every thought and every perception is just an idea. Just an idea, just a possibility. Until we attach emotion to it, until we repeat it over and over, and it becomes a belief system, becomes a story that we tell ourselves. Can you entertain a thought as just an idea? What if I said the world is round? Can you entertain that thought as an idea? Probably so, because many people believe that. What if I said the world was flat? Can you entertain that thought as an idea? Maybe there's more resistance that's coming up to that. But just holding it as an idea, letting go of your perceptions, your past perceptions, your past beliefs that the world is round. And of course, there is many people who believe that the world is flat. Maybe they struggle with the idea that the world is round. What about entertaining the idea that you're a good person? What comes up for you there? And what about entertaining the idea that you're a bad person? Maybe there's belief in that. Maybe there's struggle with that. Maybe there's both. Maybe there's part of you that believes it and the part of you that struggles against it because you don't want to be seen as a bad person. If you desire success, can you entertain the idea of failure or being a failure just in this moment? What does it feel like to feel into that sense and idea of failure? Just to entertain it, just to allow it as a possibility. So if you're noticing resistance within any of this is totally normal. It's no easy task for most of us because we've built up a belief system that says some parts of us are acceptable and some parts are not. And why is this so? So during our early experiences in life, we will have received direct or even silent messages or anywhere in between about who we are, our place in the world, our relationships to others. And this will have come from our parents, family, media, society, culture, religion, our peers, teachers as we get older going to schooling. And these combined with our own understandings of the experiences that we encountered, which come together to begin forming that belief system about how the world works and what our place is within it, and really what's possible for us. Because all of a sudden, these belief systems can either support us in creating what we want, or they can limit us. So we're literally learning what is acceptable and what is not as we're growing up. And what is acceptable and what is not, but also what is possible and what is not for us as that individual. And the trouble is that this is all based upon other people's views, fears, and old, outdated belief systems that they've adopted themselves. And some will be helpful and supportive, and some won't. Some will be their own struggles that have been passed on to us. And in early years, we mainly learn through mirroring our parents and those around us. And if they're swimming in unworthiness and lack and failure, then you're going to pick up on that in different ways. Because we haven't at that early age, we haven't developed that capacity to reflect upon what's good for us just yet. We just soak it up. We soak it all up, and our subconscious mind uses what it sees as the most efficient strategies to help you to navigate the world from the experiences that you're having within your environment, and that communication and that relationship that you are developing with that. And of course, as we get older, we learn differently. But by that time, we've still got all of that deep core programming that's running the show. And it needs a lot of evidence and experience to convince it that there's a new and better way of doing things, even if we know consciously that feels like the right thing. So, as babies, from the moment we are born, we are reliant upon our parents and caregivers to keep us alive so they can guide us in how the world works, how we work, how to survive, and even thrive. And parents, as much as they try, won't get it right 100% of the time. And all it takes is for mom to walk out of the room for a couple of minutes while baby is resting, for baby to wake up and come to a limited understanding that their primary caregiver has gone and isn't coming back, because they haven't got that awareness to think, oh, she's gone out the room, she's gone to make a cup of tea or something because I was resting. And of course that fear sets in, and this is not baby's fault, it's not parents' fault, it's just what happens. This fear will set in, this non-verbal understanding will set in. And they might not have the language, but they will be experiencing some sense of loss or disconnection or even abandonment at that physical level. And this starts to build into the identity level as they get older. And again, this is all something that we all have to go through, because we have this bubble that's put around us when we're young, based upon what other people believe and know to the best of their ability, in order to protect us, in order to get us to a certain age, so we can then burst out of that bubble through a higher level of awareness and tapping into more of a deeper understanding of who we are and what we're here to do and express in the world. So of course, most adults are still stuck in their own childhood patterns themselves. So there's still that struggle that's going on within themselves. And without developing that self-awareness and making the changes to the beliefs and the rules that they've adopted from generations past, then they'll just be behaving in the same way. And again, children will soak this up. And again, some of it will be helpful. Some of it will be really positive and supportive, and some of it won't. And again, you can't get it perfect. So it's just about doing your best from the place that you're at, because there will always be more to learn and to grow into as human beings and parents. And as we move into school, our conditioning compounds, I guess is the word. We're surrounded by peers to compare against, and we have teachers to judge us on our work. So all of a sudden, that pressure sets in to perform in a certain way. But again, at this early age, we don't distinguish between our behavior and our results. Um, sorry, we don't distinguish between our behavior or results and ourselves. So we just take it all personally. So if you get, let's say you get an F in your maths test, you will see yourself as a failure, and this can stick. It doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, but that will most likely happen from that limited perspective as we're growing up. We attach ourselves to our behavior, we attach ourselves to the results that we get. So I remember myself being given school report after school report that led me to the understanding that I wasn't good enough and I must try harder. So it wasn't that people were, I'm guessing people were probably wasn't telling me that, okay, you're not good enough. It was more of the reports that were suggesting that my work wasn't good enough, and I was personalizing that and creating an understanding that I wasn't good enough and I must try harder, must do more. So, as well as creating the belief that I'm not good enough, I've also been given the solution to cover this up. It's sort of written down there on my reports. Must try harder, must do more, and this becomes my protector mechanism. And we can call this the doer or the pusher. And the problem is at this early age, we struggle to see the difference between our behaviors and our identities. So we take it all personally, as I say, and from the I am not good enough or whatever other words you want to stick in that gap after I am, this all grows very quickly and compounds and builds momentum. It becomes ingrained in that perception of ourselves. So what we do and how we do it, and more so the results and praise or the criticism that we receive about our doing or the results that we get from those we see as holding the power and the truth of life, all of this becomes our identity. And the more we believe our initial understanding of ourselves, the more we will try and get away from it because it doesn't feel good. And we use those strategies that we've been given and shown. And the more tension and pressure builds, and the more we sabotage ourselves, which then results in us just feeling the feeling we were trying to get away from in the first place. And the more you try and get away from something, the more it will grow because once again, that's where your focus is going, albeit unintentionally. The belief is growing because you're putting your focus on it, even because you're trying to get away from it by putting that strategy into place. So it's like saying for me, it's like, okay, well, okay, it must be true. I'm being told that I'm not good enough, so I need to try harder. I need to push more, do more. And as I'm doing that, it's like I'm basically believing and putting focus onto that belief and telling myself unconsciously that, okay, that's true. So I need to cover it up by doing this thing. So, as well as our parents and our caregivers, the mind also adapts to its environment. With the key goal, again, sort of underlining all of this is helping you to survive. And along with this, it's that need for connection, the desire to connect with others, especially those we feel will help us to survive in some way. So it's soaking everything up from its environment in order for you to adapt to life. in order for you to survive. So we're being programmed from the outside in, and there's no realization of good or bad programming here. It's that there's no distinction between helpful or unhelpful programming. It's just programming based upon what the system is experiencing and learning from the aim of helping you to survive. So we've received all of this programming at our early age, and the programming continues into adulthood. So what I mean by this is basically our environment will dictate our programming. So think about the people you surround yourself with, the people you listen to, the people you take advice from, maybe the people who inspire you. You may have heard the saying, you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I'll say that again, you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not too sure where that came from. It might be a book of some kind, but that's the I suppose the general consensus of how our identities are built through the people we hang around with, through the people that we connect with. And of course the the growth that we take from that in whichever direction that goes, the growth or non-growth even. So have a think about that. What things do you listen to? What things do you watch? What are you feeding your mind? What story is playing out in your mind that your subconscious mind is listening to and feeding off to either create a new story or make an old story even bigger? So it could be that people you are connecting with, but also what's that internal story that's going on that's also creating that internal environment that your subconscious is then soaking up at the same time. So we've got the internal environment of our thinking, perspective, physical state. We could even include what we put into the body as far as nutrition goes, and even the movement and exercise that we engage with. And we've even got the external environment where we've got the people, the places, media, knowledge, nature, all of those things that we surround ourselves with that have a massive impact and communication with the subconscious mind. So maybe even pause the video here just for a few minutes, just to reflect upon your environments, both inner and outer, and just asking yourself, what works for you? Who works for you? What can you let go of? What can you introduce that will be more supportive? What would you like to hold on to? What is supporting you already? Because both of these environmental systems, inner and outer, will be either supporting you or sabotaging you in your self-acceptance and even acceptance of others, the world around you, or the lack of acceptance. So it's either supporting one view or another, one perspective or another, acceptance or non-acceptance. So the mind created the understanding of our place in the world. And from that limited perspective, it did what it could to try and protect us from being seen in this undesirable way. And in some ways, it helped us to not be seen, even if that was only for short periods before having to follow that strategy once more. And when I say not be seen, I mean those hidden parts of us that it created in the first place. So, and it's also hindered us by shutting off that true self. So, yes, it's protecting us. It's found a way to protect us from the understandings from that limited perspective that it created in the first place, such as I'm not good enough. But as we grow, it's also hindering us and it's shutting ourselves off, our true selves off from the world. It's stopping us from fully expressing our higher selves and our joy, which is where our power and our purpose sit. It stopped us from doing the things we were born to do because fear had taken over. However, if we see it in the way that all of this has played out perfectly, in order for you now at this point in your life, your evolution, are now being called to let go of that old story in order to emerge into something new. And again, just play with that idea of all of this has played out perfectly and it's still playing out perfectly in order for you to evolve into that next version of you and let go of that old story. So let go of the need to cover yourself up with that mask. Let go of the need to hide from the world. Being called into a new story to be vulnerable in opening up about those parts of yourself that you've never wanted anyone to see in fear of being rejected, thrown out, or abandoned for reasons of being unlovable or unworthy, failure, not good enough, or even a bad person. You're being called to shine light on all of those fears and beliefs so you can realize that they were just perceptions and just ideas in the first place that created a basic and limited understanding of the world and your place within it in order to protect you and help you to survive up until this point. But it created a disconnection and a separation from it all. And as you grow into your higher awareness and you can shed light onto those old patterns of thinking that no longer serve you, you can then release into a fuller and more whole truth of who you really are, releasing yourself from this trap of swinging between good enough and not good enough and trying to correct yourself in some way because you feel that you're broken and you need to be fixed. And allowing that higher knowing of your own innate worth, wholeness, and power to present itself. So again, just bringing it to a close now. I just want you to just move away from this video and just spend 5 minutes just to with a pen and pad just to reflect on this and ask yourself now, but in each and every day as you move forwards with this, do I choose to live by the old patterns and beliefs that I've adopted that are outdated and aren't working for me and have been shown to be not working for me? Or will I choose to connect deeply with my own truth and step forwards with courage and find my own way that fills me with joy?